going to start the meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and the first thing on our agenda, this will be for your, the CRC. We have to elect our slate of directors, and
As presented.
As presented, the slate, okay?
And there it is on the back of the first page.
Right on the back of the first page, it's also where everybody looks. So what I would need is a motion and a second.
I move we accept these people as our new board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Well said. I'm sorry, Bill, is that Bill on the phone? Bill Gerlach?
Yeah, Bill's on.
Okay, just checking.
Can we get a little volume? Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
I'm lawyered up here. Joe Scott and Chris Canada.
All right, what we have to do now is we're gonna come out of the CRC meeting, and we're gonna go to the CRC Audit Committee meeting agenda. And we're gonna open the meeting for the CRC. First thing on is the minutes from December 5th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
And a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All set. Next, we have the Audit Committee Charter. And we need a motion to approve. So moved. Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
2023 Committee Evaluations.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. 2023 Discharge Duties. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Is there any public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Moving right along, we have the CRC Finance Committee meeting agenda. And the first thing we have is the draft minutes. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have treasurer's report.
Motion to approve.
Mike?
As you can see, we continue to operate from the benefit of CEDC's grant, so that we continue to have the benefit of a capital resource corporation in the event that there is a not-for-profit that seeks to use this vehicle to finance a project. We continually have the discussion, is it worth asking for the CEDC grant for the purpose of maintaining this entity solely and using the funds solely at this point for administrative, legal and accounting and insurance costs. We have this conversation annually, and I know that Andy and I have discussed this with Joe Scott, who from Hodgson Russ, along with Chris Canada from Hodgson Russ. But I think if we let this entity go, we would never get it back. And I guess the question is, as long as CEDC is willing to make the grant, I believe it's important that we keep this. The last time it was used was by the hospital. If there was to be any major expansion of the hospital, as now as part of the Albany Med Health System, we wouldn't want to be in a situation where this vehicle wasn't available. Joe and Chris, Joe and Chris represent the IDA and CRC as special counsel, assisting Andy. What's your experience statewide? Are other CRCs being dissolved, or do people find a way to keep them just in case as an insurance policy?
Well, I'll start, and Chris can jump in if he's got anything to add on that, Michael. But our experience is that across the board, people keep the CRC available because the not-for-profit market, if you will, in upstate New York is so critical to job creation, job retention. So even with CRCs that have been inactive for 3 or 4 years, the decision-making of the IDAs that we represent. And as you know, we represent approximately 25 IDAs throughout the state, east, west, north, and south, that they keep these CRCs in effect and on the shelf so that they can retrieve them and use them. Part of the reason that they've been inactive is that there's been the interest rates have been very difficult. And also, frankly, with respect to hospitals, the market, their financials have been very difficult. So we expect that stuff to come back, the customer base, if you will, to come back. So our recommendation to all of our clients is to keep them in effect.
Have you, my understanding is IDAs cannot make grants, so therefore we've been using CBDC for that purpose. Do you see any issue with that methodology of funding it?
No, in fact, that's another good reason, and it's good that you brought that up, to keep the CRC in effect, because their powers in some instances are broader than the powers of the IDA, and accordingly, it's effective to have them on your in your toolbox so that you can use them for grants and loans, which you can't use currently for industrial development agencies.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
We have that conversation annually, but
I know that. Okay, what we need is a motion to accept treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, Finance Committee Charter. We need a motion to accept. So moved. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have the 2023 discharge duties. We need a motion to accept.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And 2023 investment report. Mike, there's nothing, I don't think we have
there's no
anything.
investments. Our $600 is in a no-fee account at Key Bank.
Okay. Need a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any public comment at this time? Close the CRC Finance Committee.
A motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving right along, we have the CRC Governance Committee meeting agenda. And first up is need a motion to accept the minutes from October 3rd, 2023. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have the Governance Committee Charter Review. Well, I need a motion to accept.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then the 2024 compliance calendar. We need a motion to accept.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the 2023 committee evaluations. Need a motion to accept.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then the 2023 discharge duties. Need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have the 2023 statement of internal controls. I need a motion to accept.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any public comment at this time? If not, we'll close the CRC Governance Committee meeting agenda. And we're going to reopen the CRC meeting agenda. And the first thing is I would need a motion to accept the annual housekeeping resolution.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have the draft minutes from December 5th, 2023. We need a motion to accept.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we have the treasurer's report, which Mike just went over. So then we have our annual reports, of which we just did. Okay,
Yeah.
first one would be the.
Can we do,
You
is
want
that
to do them all?
consent agenda? Can we do them all together?
Yes. So if you want to,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
if you want to indicate that you're would accept a motion to adopt the consent agenda. And a second, then unless someone would like one of those items to be removed for individual discussion, you could proceed with approving them all in one vote.
I make a motion, we
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. All right, number 7, we have the audit committee charter, and which we don't have to vote, and then you have your finance committee charter, 2023 investment report.
I think
You just went through.
we just.
Right.
Okay, you want to do all of them?
together.
All of
Okay.
those are approved.
Okay. So what we have now is the administrative director's report, which,
This is for CRC.
yes,
I think that we should let the record show that during the committee meeting, we did discuss with special counsel the benefit of retaining the CRC in the event that there are opportunities for not-for-profit organizations in the county to avail themselves of its benefits, and that we request that CEDC provide a $5,000 grant to enable CRC to continue maintaining legal accounting and services as well as insurance coverage. And other than that, we do have a list of not-for-profits in the county. We have sorted it by the size of the organization, and we have sent letters to their CEOs and chief finance officers, alerting them to the benefits that they could avail themselves to if they end up moving forward with a future project. So that's my report.
okay. Any public comment? If not, I need a motion. So moved. Close the, second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Moving right along. Okay. First thing we got, I need a motion to second open the IDA board agenda. Okay, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
First thing, we need our slate of directors. Again, if you flip right over your first page, you're set on the back of page 2, actually. You have your new slate of directors, so I would need a motion to accept the new slate.
No move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, Lisa, we gotta,
And there's an audit and the governance and finance.
yes, that's what I'm looking for.
You have 3 resolutions first before you get to the meeting packets.
Yeah, these 3 right here.
Yeah, just put those for the full board. There you go.
Okay. First thing up, we have the IDA Audit Committee. And what we have first is the draft minutes from December 5th, 2023.
Kathy, I'll be the consent agenda.
We can do the consent agenda again. This is what we're doing new now, is put them all under one consent agenda,
Okay.
and then boom, we're done.
For all 3 committees.
It's for all 3 committees?
Yeah, well,
Well, for
one, no,
each one.
each committee.
Each committee, yes, okay. All right, so what we're gonna do is you have your consent agenda, which is the draft minutes from December 5th, 2023, the Audit Committee Charter, 2023 Audit Committee Discharge of Duties, and the 2023 Audit Committee Evaluations. So what we need is a motion to accept. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any public comment? None. Okay. Moving right along, we have the IDA Finance Committee agenda. And on that,
Again, we have the internal year-end report. We anticipate receiving the audited report from UHY in the next couple of weeks.
Probably not before, but we'll have the March meeting.
Right. We'll have that for you to review and approve in March. But as you can see from our balance sheet, we currently have $36,000 in assets. And that includes $12,500 due to CEDC, which is the reduced amount. In other words, because of the cash flow of the county IDA, we reduced the fee from $24,000 to $12,500, but that is still a receivable on the CEDC's books because there wasn't cash to pay it in 2023. In addition, there's a $6,000 liability due to county on land sale, and that's from the Hudson River Valley Holding Company transaction. The county, we've discussed with the county holding that money for them for future economic development directed purposes, and the accountants have asked us to get a letter confirming that. So that will move from a liability to a restricted asset. And our unrestricted fund balance basically is the $36,000 in Key Bank. And you'll see that we had negative net income of $22,000 this year. Our income was limited to administrative fees and an application. Our expenses included legal, accounting, administrative, and insurance. And our pilot receipts of $72,447 comes into the organization and then immediately goes out to the taxing jurisdiction. So you'll see at the bottom of the P&L that's categorized as other income and expenses. We are optimistic that 2024 will get us back on track. As you'll note on the agenda for discussion as the meeting progresses are several potential projects that not only will generate application income, but hopefully as they move towards completion and approval by the IDA and closing, that we would be getting project fees from as those projects move forward with their IDA financing. Again, I think that we are somewhat restricted by the fact that there are limited water and sewer availability in the county that actually hampers the development of properties for businesses as well as residential. But we do have several projects that we'll discuss during my administrative report on the horizon that I think meet the criteria of Industrial Development Agency financing, and also are positive in terms of investment, job growth for the county, and also will generate revenue to get us back on track financially. Any question?
Thanks, Mike. So what we would need then is a motion to accept all the items in the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any public comment? If not, we'll close the IDA Finance Committee. Next, we have the IDA Governance Committee agenda. And we'll do the same thing. We have your 5 items on your consent agenda. And I would need a motion to accept.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So fast. Good job, Ed. And we need any public comments at this time? If not, we will close the IDA Governance Committee meeting.
If we could ask Mr. Scott to make a public comment regarding the text or email he just sent me about our camera system. We've had a lot of issue about this.
And you're putting me on the spot, Mr. Tucker. I thought that was attorney-client privilege. You did say our
camera system was excellent. How about that?
I'm very impressed by it. It compares favorably to any of the clients that we work with. I like the split screen at the top, the split screen at the bottom, and then the wide pan. It's very, very effective. So you should be commended.
Ourselves to anyone, we're just you're complimenting us on what we put on here. But as anyone that's been monitoring these meetings for some period of time know that until others joined the team here, I was not able to provide such a good experience.
In all due respect and everything, I noticed right away, it's the first meeting I've been here where we got this.
Yeah.
It is very nice.
I want to thank Riley. Chris came up with the owl based on what the city of Hudson was using. It's been a team effort. Steve helps with some of the technology, but it's a great, and I no longer have pangs of anxiety as I come to these meetings in the hopes that we can comply with state law to live stream these events. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So moving right along, we got the IDA board agenda meeting. First thing up is going to be the administrative director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned, since we last met, we have had a number of projects inquiries regarding the county IDA. One is the La Bella restaurant up in Valatia. They are moving forward with plans to develop a $10 million project that would include the construction of a new restaurant, banquet facility, and other amenities just north of the traffic circle on Route 9H in Valatia. They have submitted an application that we reviewed with council, Ms. Andy Howard and Joe Scott and Ms. Canada, and it has been deemed complete, and there is a resolution to authorize a public hearing for that project. Joe or Andy or Chris, do you have any observations or comments with respect to the La Bella project?
Well, I guess I'll start and then Andy and Chris can chime in. The resolution is a starting point for purposes of the IDA process. So there's no commitment on the part of the IDA with respect to the project. What this does is get the ball rolling with respect to the process. It authorizes staff and council to work together to schedule the public hearing. By way of background to the members, the notice regarding the public hearing is published in the newspaper, and it's also sent directly to the affected taxing jurisdictions, the chief elected officials. So the school, the town, the county will each get direct notice of this public hearing once the public hearing is scheduled. Chris, maybe you want to talk about some filing requirements that we have to make with respect to this material, both the resolution, and I think I've hinted on that with respect to the public hearing, but also the fact that that IDA staff has already taken some steps with respect to due diligence, with respect to the qualification of this project for IDA activity with respect to the consultant's report and the retail issue. So I'll pass that on to you, Chris.
Thanks, Joe. So as Joe mentioned, the notice of the public hearing, in addition to being published in the newspaper, has to be sent to the affected tax jurisdictions. A new requirement from last year in 2023, modification of general municipal law, the public hearing resolution, should this be adopted, or any public hearing resolutions of the IDA going forward, needs to also be sent to the affected tax jurisdictions. This kind of falls under the idea of transparency, letting all the school districts and all the towns and villages know that this project is coming down the pike. So it's an additional process for the IDA. We certainly can assist with that, but it's just something to be aware of, that not only do you need to send the notice, but once this resolution, should it be approved, a certified copy would need to also be sent to the tax jurisdictions, which we could assist the IDA with. Not a problem.
Right. I think the only other thing I would add is that This is the beginning of the process, as Joe alluded to. They still are in front of the Kinderhook Planning Board. I happen to represent the town of Kinderhook, so I've seen their presentation to the planning board. Actually, it's a very good plan. It was one of the more impressive plans I've seen over the last decade. They still have a lot more to go. The reason for the delay is they're going to tie into a water project that's being done up there. And so they've kind of been waiting for the town to effectuate that water project, which is now under construction. So I've spoken to the attorney. We hope to see them back in front of the planning board, if not here in February, in March. But they still probably have a 2 or 3 month process at a minimum in front of the Kinderhook Planning Board. So it'll be a little bit of time. There's going to be a delay, not caused by anything they're doing. So I just didn't want the board to see, if we have our meeting in March and they're not ready, it's not that they're dragging their feet.
The application indicates that this is on Route 9. It's above where 9H comes in. They have 20 current employees, which will be retained. They expect to create 12 full-time equivalent jobs. Total project cost is $9.7 million. They estimate that the sales tax exemption on construction materials would be $500,000. The mortgage recording tax exemption, exempting the 1.25% mortgage recording tax would have a value of $110,000. And based on utilizing the agency's uniform tax exemption policy for the pilot, they estimate real property tax exemptions of approximately $450,000. So the IDA's incentive would be just over $1 million on a $10 million project. And they're not asking for a deviation from the real property tax uniform policy. And as you know, or will recall, that policy mirrors section 485B of the real property tax law, which provides a 50% exemption in the first year, down to a 0 exemption in year 11. And it also does not exempt special use taxes in the community: fire, library, water, sewer, those types of taxes if they exist. And so we do have the application. They have purchased the property. And as Andy said, they're moving forward with their planning board and work, and also their efforts to secure financing. We've seen plans for the proposed restaurant. I think it not only will meet the criteria of distressed area, but I think it's going to be a great attraction, and it's going to be with the only other existing banquet facility in the county closing at Kozel's. I think it's going to be very needed and very positive project as it moves forward. Any questions?
Is Kinderhook undergoing a major water renovation?
Yeah, they're expanding their water district to provide water.
And sewage, or just water?
Just water.
Does this, is this part of the dollar store, the old dollar store that's sitting in there?
It's just north of that.
It's north of that.
In the open field, yeah.
Okay.
And so it'll be a restaurant and a catering facility.
Right.
Great. We do have a resolution for a public to give authorization to schedule a public hearing in the future. Is there a I'd ask that be considered by the board this morning.
Sure. We'll do this one, we'll do them all separate, the three of them. Okay. So what you have in front of you is the resolution for Labella's. And what we would need, if everybody's looked at it, or unless there's any more comments on it, need a motion to accept the resolution.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Public hearings, are we required to be there?
Do we have to have a vote?
One member, I mean, it's, there should be a hearing officer. Do you need a roll call? Everybody.
We have it.
Okay. I think we.
We will certainly invite you, and I encourage you to attend.
Too.
yeah, we'll do them all.
Yeah, we didn't approve the consent agenda yet.
You've got a gold mine right
Okay. Why don't we do that?
Okay,
Just we'll put it in the right order in the minutes.
so what we're gonna do is, what we have now is your items A through I, and then 1, 2, 3 with the governance committee meetings. And we're gonna do them all at once. So I would need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we just jumped a little ahead. So next, what we would have is the Four Seasons project, Mike.
Our second application received this month is from Four Seasons project in Galatia. It's a very interesting project as it's a housing project. It's the Paul Calcagno Jr. Development LLC Corporation, liability company. That's it's not a corporation. That's requesting support from the county IDA. The project resulted from the developer getting the town of Kinderhook to agree to, and the village of Galatia to accept a annexation of property, so that the village of Galatia annexed a portion of the town of Kinderhook to create this parcel that would then allow it to be able to use the water and sewer resources in the village. It's a proposed as an $18.4 million project. It is 57 units. I believe, is it 6 or 12, Chris, that are townhouses?
It's 26 units of
12 units, townhouse, and the rest are, it's a very interesting concept, 12 to 1,500 square feet, single-family units. But this, all of the units at this project would be rented to people over 55, and there would be a clubhouse and an activities director and amenities to support the community. My understanding from the village attorney is that they have received their local zoning and planning approvals. There are several, there's a DEC permit and a New York State DOT highway permit that is still needed. You know, I think that you're all aware from the work that CEDC has been doing on behalf of the Board of Supervisors in the, God bless you, in the housing area, that housing is needed in the county at all levels, from low income up through every level of housing. We have a crisis that exists throughout the Hudson Valley and upstate New York. It's particularly exacerbated here in Columbia County, where since 2019, when the median sale price of a single family home was $240,000, that is now $360,000 or $560,000. The difficulty is that not only are people who are living in the county now, who if you don't already own your house with a county median household income of $70,000, you could only afford a $175,000 house in Arnett. I think the unique part of this project is that they're rental units. It is in a community. It would be attractive to people who might want to sell their home but stay in the area. And also because of the size of the footprint of the house, that while the rents will be market rents, we believe that it will serve a very critical component of the county's existing population. They have not requested a deviation So if the project was to be ultimately approved, the real property tax agreement as it relates to the request for a pilot would also be based on our uniform pilot policy, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a mirror image of Section 45B of the real property tax law. The property would be assessed, and it would be assessed based on an income approach as a business, so that an appraisal would be done and the assessor would fix the assessment. And then once the tax, once the pilot is set, they would be locked into payments based on the estimate of the value of the project from the appraisal, using the current tax rate escalating at 2% a year, and then fixing that payment as we have in the past for the 10-year period. Again, we understand that the village leadership, elected leadership, is supportive of this project, and in terms of what they're requesting in benefits, on the $18 million project, the sales tax the sales tax exemption that they're estimating is $832,000. The mortgage recording tax exemption they're requesting is $187,000. And at this point, it's difficult we need to, prior to the public hearing, of course, get more information from them on the business value, so that we can come up with an estimate of the real property tax saving or exemption. So that we would need that before the public hearing, so that not only the taxing jurisdictions, but the public can have a crystal clear idea of exactly what benefits are being requested. But project is moving along, and we would request, Mr. Chairman, that the board consider a resolution authorizing a public hearing in connection with the Four Seasons 55 and older active community being proposed by Paul Del Cagno Jr. Development LLC.
Where are they out of?
Paul is a developer out of Kinderhook. He owns the bagel shop there. He's done other renovation of apartments and housing.
What was the total project cost?
18.4 million. Which, if you look at that in terms of the construction or the total project cost, it's about $300,000 a unit. So, to build, it's hard to find, and if you're at $1,500 a square foot, or 1,500 square foot unit, it's about $250 a square foot. So it's not going to be, it's going to be price point to people that can afford to live there, but it's not going to be exclusive.
When do you think they'll have it finished?
Chris, we saw the plans. I mean, it's very, I don't know that how far it got into the planning board, but it's a great concept, because so many communities aren't looking to have 60 units in a big box, 4-story mammoth type ship of apartment house that you would, it doesn't fit into the character of their community. So I don't know if that was pre-discussed with the planning board or whether they had proposed something different, but certainly the concept is interesting, and it also gives people the opportunity to still stay in a single family home without having to keep the home that they have. And obviously each time someone's able to buy the next home, it opens up the home behind them for someone else.
Absolutely. And one question, Andy, we the same thing on this one. This is probably doing a public hearings. I'm just guessing June.
Yeah, I think, well, they received their approvals from the Village of Valatia Planning Board, but I think, as Mike said, they're just waiting or it's a conditional approval. They're just waiting for DOT and DEC. So yeah, I would expect that would probably come in the next 30 to 60 days.
So we recommend, Mr. Chairman, that the agency board approve a resolution to authorize us to hold a public hearing.
No further ado. Any other questions on this project? If not, we entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved.
So,
Okay,
Yeah.
next we have Clark Estates.
Yes. Before we get to Clark Estates, based on our 1% fee structure, we'd be looking at $270,000 of fees if both of these projects went forward.
the previous ones, Labella and
The Labella,
You're talking 270 together.
yeah, Labella and, even if one went together, we'd be back in the money.
I was gonna ask it afterwards.
I didn't want to be crass and bring it up while we were discussing.
Okay.
The Clark Estates project is moving forward, and they asked Riley to put together a guest list for a ribbon cutting in May. Obviously, the members of the IDA and associated parties have been put on that list, as well as town of Claverack representatives and other county officials from our that we've submitted. And in the course of reviewing the existing IDA pilot document and comparing it to what was provided as notice to the taxing jurisdictions, there is a need for clarification. The notice to the taxing jurisdictions indicated that the pilot would become effective upon the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. The pilot itself provided for a schedule that showed that the first payment would be due based on the anticipated completion of the project in 2023. And so the towns have taken the position, at least the assessor has taken the position, that the notice that they were provided is what should govern. And this resolution is to modify the pilot for the purpose of conforming it to the notice that was provided to the taxing jurisdictions. And Joe or Chris, could you just reference exactly how this resolution accomplishes that?
Well, I'll start. What we're going to do, Mr. Tucker, is, as you suggested in your intro, we're going to amend the pilot agreement to change the fixed date that exists in the pilot agreement and insert instead a certificate of occupancy concept where the start date of the pilot agreement would follow the delivery of the certificate of occupancy. What was done in the documents was an estimate based on the company's original view on how quickly they could get the project done with respect to the starting date of the pilot agreement. Due to a variety of factors, COVID, supply chain, market conditions, inflation, et cetera, the project's not ready yet. And all parties agree that it makes sense for the abatement schedule to start following the certificate of occupancy rather than to have the abatement schedule start to burn off during construction. So the resolution does a couple of things. It reflects the mortgage financing that they've reached out to us for, and it also reflects a request to amend the pilot agreement to add the mechanic relating to the certificate of occupancy.
Do we have a copy of that resolution? Yes.
Yeah, it's in your packet. It's a resolution authorizing amendment to the pilot agreement and modification agreement for Clark Estates Land LLC.
I did see an email here, external email.
What Mr. Scott referenced in respect to a mortgage, Clark Estates has initially financed the project through farm credit, and farm credit is exempt from mortgage recording tax by state law. So they're adding additional financing to the project. And is that in the amount of 3 million, Joe?
Yes. It's 2 million hard money and 1 million for working capital. For purposes of the IDA, and I think this is the point that you want to make also, there's no change in the project. The project is what we're doing is, and what we've seen again with our other IDA clients is a fair number of what we call post-closing modifications to reflect the change in circumstances given what's going on in the economy out there. I mean, you look out the window and it's difficult to do capital projects. So what we're doing is responding to changes in circumstance with respect to a project that was, approved by the IDA.
And in addition, when we did a similar added finance funds to the WIC, we did not charge 1% of the additional funding amount. We only charged a $1,000 administrative fee. And we're proposing that since this, as Mr. Scott indicates, is part of the overall project financing that was approved. They had included up to $3 million of an exemption in the original application for mortgage recording tax because they knew they were going to farm credit, which didn't require mortgage recording tax. Had they gone to a conventional lender, the mortgage tax exemption would have been worth over $150,000 that we didn't give to them because they didn't need it. And so now our feeling is similar to what we did when the WIC asked for approval to take on an additional funding to complete the project, that we charge it a $1,000 administrative fee. Any other questions?
We're all set. Need a motion to accept the Clark Estate.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, Mike, I guess
We have not heard anything more on the 178 Healy Boulevard apartment project that's in litigation. I did try to get an update prior to the meeting, but I'm sure if the case had been decided, we would know about it. I do think that we have an additional inquiry by a developer in Philmont who has bought, can't remember, is it a knitting mill? It was a mill up where the pond is. Yeah. And that will be coming to you at your next meeting. It's basically a draft application I've received that I have not had time, I got it last Thursday, to go through with them. But basically, they're looking to convert that building into a banquet hall venue for weddings and other events. Again, as we discussed with Labella's, the fact that it's in the village of Philmont, which is will meet the criteria of a distressed area under the IDA statute, they would be eligible to overcome the restriction on retail projects. We will be getting you more information with respect to that project as they finalize their application and submit it. We've also been in contact with a group in Germantown who own a property on the waterfront on the Hudson. Apparently it was originally a cold storage building where they could have rail access. We don't know if they had dock access, but their idea is to convert that into a multi-use facility. We have not yet determined their full eligibility based on the criteria and based on that we would have to go through the evaluation on with respect to any retail components that would be in that project. Chris Brown, our housing coordinator at CEDC, and I have been continuing to work with the Board of Supervisors Housing Task Force. We believe that there could be as many, we have at least 10 inquiries with respect to housing projects from across the county, that go from potential low-income housing tax credit projects all the way up to what I call a Beverwick project, which is the very high-end independent senior living, where the occupant puts up a couple $100,000 and pays rent and gets one meal a day in a country club living atmosphere, where it's run by a healthcare organization that provides progressive care, and they may or may not have assisted living or a nursing home as part of their system. But there had been discussion of a project of that nature on at 9H and 66. So, I think that one of the things that I would like to explore at our next meeting, Mr. Chairman, is taking a look at what other IDAs throughout upstate New York have done with respect to housing, so that we're not in a situation where each and every time a housing project comes to us, we're looking at it de novo. This project that's come before us today is basically a market rate. It's positive because of the market that they're seeking to serve is in an affordable category. But I do think we should have some stated policy so that each of the projects that come to us in the future are not evaluated on the basis of a requested deviation, and each of them is different. So other IDAs throughout the state have done that. We have a survey of that will circulate to you, and I wanted to circulate that to Andy and Joe and Chris to get their input from their experience with other IDAs around the state. Joe or Chris, do you have any sense of many IDAs have 7 or 8 classifications of pilot, but could you give us a little overview for an educational purpose on topics of what is your uniform pilot, and is it for all projects or a single class of projects?
Well, I think as you suggest, Michael, it varies across the state. One of the neat things about IDAs is that they're a local creature. They're created locally, they're staffed locally, the appointments are local, and so they're designed by statute, frankly, to reflect the needs and address the needs of the community for whose benefit they were formed, whether a town or a county. And we see a variety of situations where some IDAs will do only low income, some IDAs will do across the board. Some IDAs particularly focus on market because they're concerned about job creation and making sure that they have housing for the employers that are coming into their community. And then with respect to the structure of the pilot agreements, Chris and I have seen a variety of formulas, some based on rental income, some based on a points calculator where depending on the types of elements or incentives or elements, the positive elements that the developer is incorporating into the project, green construction, sidewalks, that sort of stuff, they get a more aggressive abatement schedule. So I think the tack that you're taking, which is to reach out and see what others are doing, is the right one. And candidly, if you look at the legislation and the regulatory situation, it's a mixed bag about whether IDA should be involved in housing. We've been working with our IDA clients on housing projects for, I would say, about 10 years, because I think any economic developer will tell you that housing is an important part of economic development in a community. But that's not uniform. That belief is not, or that view is not uniformly held both at the regulatory level and the legislative level. So I think it's important for you to come up with policies so that can guide you in the future. And we love, Chris and I would love to have the opportunity to work with you and Andy on providing materials for review by the board.
I think that when you look at the housing crisis in Columbia County right now, and the fact that as I mentioned earlier, we have a $70,000 plus or minus median household income, which means more than one person in most instances. We're really in a very difficult situation in terms of where are the people who live and work here going to continue to live. And if you don't live here and you want to come to work in the county, you're going to have to live somewhere else, which will, in many cases, be a disincentive to you to want to work in the county. And I know when we speak with businesses that are interested in expanding or moving to the county, the biggest question they have is where are we going to find the workforce? One of the projects that I've been working on at CEDC is the Flanders building. And we've had Peter Struzzi, who is a broker in Albany who has it listed. We've had several people go through it. A company that was very, very interested in it was concerned about where would I find 100 to 150 people to work at that facility. One of the other issues with that project that the broker is working on is that Flanders at one point sold that building to a real estate investment trust, and it's a company in Chicago, JP Carey. They have over 2 billion square feet of warehouse and office space throughout the country. Flanders leased back the building, and the lease expiration is in 2032. It's been very difficult because Flanders, as part of their decision to move out, understood that they would have to pay their rent till 2032 or sublease it. No one wants to come in there with 7 years or 8 years, 6 years, 7 or 8 years left on the lease and invest millions of dollars to retrofit it to their own business manufacturing model, and find out at the end of that 2020 or 2032 date that they can't renew their lease or they have to pay an exorbitant rental price. So we are working through that, but the big issue to date and people walking away after they've looked at it and said this would be great, it's access to the bridge to get to the thruway, for distribution, access that's in great shape. The building was well maintained. It could easily be retrofitted to almost any type of manufacturing or production facility. But they're concerned if we come, who will work here and where will they live and where will they come from? So I think with that said, I think that it would be our recommendation that this agency seriously consider what role it can play in supporting the housing initiatives that the Board of Supervisors have undertaken through CEDC and the Housing Task Force and the work that Chris Brown is doing, because it is one of the top 3 or 4 issues that impact economic development in the county, along with infrastructure, water and sewer. We're doing pretty well on broadband and gas and electric, but housing is a critical component of the future economic success for the county.
It was mentioned that some entities do not believe that the IDA should be involved in housing. Can you just give me a quick rundown of what the negatives would be for an IDA to be involved with housing?
Dear Senator Scoffus.
Right. Well, I think there's a number of levels there. One level is the name of your entity, Industrial Development Agency, and they say why is an industrial entity involved in housing? Personally, I think that's a strained reading and a strained view. But I think there's a large part, and I have a bias. I'm a fan of industrial development agencies. I think they're a marvelous economic development tool. Frankly, one of the few tools in New York State that actually works well and works efficiently. And I think with some regulatory people and some legislative people, and again, those are at the state level as opposed to the local level, there's just a general suspicion on the part of what the locals are doing and whether what they're doing has sufficient controls and policies and procedures and review and are not subject to local biases and local pressures, which in my view is actually one of the benefits of industrial development agencies. So a lot of the criticism, in my view, of IDAs and housing stems from a political philosophy of, who's the better decision maker? Is it at the state level or at the local level? But I think Michael made a good point. I think if you Google Senator Skoufis, who's very active in the IDA regulatory area, you'll see a lot of his work. In particular, he's a good example of issues regarding housing and industrial development agencies.
Thank you.
So, I think we're very excited about working with the two developers who have already submitted applications, as well as the 2 or 3 that we're in discussions with. And we're looking forward to a good year. And we want to thank the board for their continuity and also their support in the past year, which we had a lot of inquiries and false starts, but we didn't close a deal last year. So we're motivated to do that in 2024.
Well, thank you, Mike. I know it's Mike, a lot of hard work, and Andy.
Our entire staff here.
Staff over here.
Lisa, making sure we don't go to Paris jail. If only we could go to jail in Paris. Well, I don't know. The guillotine.
Well, it's all it's a project. It looks like everything's coming to fruition. And as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, all of a sudden, next thing is why everyone's, how come now? It's all coming to fruition.
Well, we had that brief interruption with the pandemic. So I think people are back on track.
It's coming back. All right. So is there any public comments? If not, I would need a motion and a second to close the IDA meeting. So move.
Second.
Okay.
Closed. I know.
Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to thank Sarah for being here and helping me out today.